I gave them water for free for years, and they repaid me by destroying the only well I had. But they didn't know I held the valve to their entire community. When I moved into this quiet rural neighborhood, all I wanted was peace, privacy, a fresh start. I found a modest spot at the edge of the community, a few acres, just enough distance to breathe. My home ran completely off-grid, solar panels, composting, and my favorite part, the private well. That well had been there for decades, clear cold water straight from the earth. It had never failed me. But then came the HOA. At first, it was harmless. Side eyes at meetings. Little jabs like, your well cap doesn't match the neighborhood aesthetic. I shrugged it off. After all, my property was technically grandfathered in. They had no real say over it. But control is a hard habit to break. Soon, the violation notices started arriving. Passive-aggressive paperwork wrapped in HOA letterhead. I ignored them. I wasn't under their full jurisdiction, and I knew it. But apparently, that made me a problem. One morning, I stepped outside to water my garden, and froze. There were workers on my land, uninvited, smirking like they owned the place. I jogged down the path, already uneasy, and that's when I saw it. My well sealed, fresh cement, poured over the opening, hard and set. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. That well wasn't just my water source, it was survival. And they'd destroyed it. When I confronted the HOA president, she didn't flinch, just smiled and said, maybe now you'll consider connecting to the community water system and complying with our standards. Like she hadn't just vandalized private infrastructure, like this was some kind of game. But here's what she didn't know. Years ago, when the neighborhood expanded, the board realized they couldn't afford a second water line, so they struck a quiet deal. A buried pipe ran directly from my well across my property, feeding water to their precious community clubhouse, gym, and office buildings. Their water came from my land, my pump, my electricity. So I did what any sane person would do. I flipped the switch and shut it all off. Within hours, the calls started pouring in. There was no water in the gym. The clubhouse toilets weren't flush. Panic, chaos, confusion, and I just sat on my porch, watching, waiting. By the next morning, they were begging, pleading, please, turn the well back on. I told them the truth. You destroyed it. Fixing it would cost tens of thousands. Drilling, testing, permits, not to mention trespassing, property damage, and civil liability. Suddenly, the smugness vanished. They brought in lawyers, apologies, excuses, but it was too late. I took them to court, and I won. Not only did they have to pay for a brand new well, but the judge ordered them to issue a formal public apology and cover every last dollar of my legal fees. The HOA president resigned in disgrace. Now, that new well cap, painted in neon orange, I made sure of it. Bright, loud, unmissable, a daily reminder that when you mess with the water, you better be sure who controls the tap.